Hello, this is Essie, the homeless woman. It's Sunday, March the 24th, I think. Yeah. So, yesterday I did Uber and I did 21 trips. With doing Uber, I guess with any job, you have issues. I learned with Uber that you have to set your own rules along with Uber rules. You have to set the rules for your vehicle. So things have been getting better, but then I got other things that bother me that I need to fix when it comes to the riders. Um, Even though I put on the door handle no riders in the front seat, they still open the door. So I'm gonna find something kind of long where when the doors unlock, I can reach over and lock the front passenger door. That way they can't open it. So that's my issue for that. Um, Now I have an issue, which I've been having this little issue for a while, but I admit I sometimes I lie to the writers because to keep them out of my business. Um, I don't ask people their personal business. And that's how black people have been raised, basically, not to be asking people their personal business. Um, a lot of times when you see black people in the workforce, they mind their own business, they do their job, they don't be in everybody else's business, asking them, where were you born, where did you grow up, and all these questions. And so, I know each culture have their own way, like the Caucasian culture. They ask questions. They ask you, where were you born? Where did you grow up? Where do you live? Like, it's a whole lot of questions. And as a black American, um, we don't like that. We don't ask questions we don't ask people their business. So it might be their culture to ask all those questions like you at a job interview or something like that. But in ours, it's not. It's our personal business, and we don't like that. And so, um, when you're doing Uber, I know Uber drivers, they drive from long distances, but I don't. I try to stay in the area. Um, I don't like driving in new areas that I'm not familiar with. So if I was to go drive a long distance area, it will be an area that I have lived and worked at before. So, but you get riders in here, and I'm just going to go and say the race, Caucasian riders, and they ask you, where do you live? And I tell them, I don't tell people that I'm homeless, because then that's going to be a whole nother set of questions. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, and if they go to my YouTube channel, you will see that I'm homeless. But when I'm at work, I'm working. You know what I'm saying? It's not about my personal life. I'm trying to do a job. I'm trying to get paid. That's it. So, and I can kind of understand them asking me, where do I live, because Uber drivers travel long distances. And so I tell them. But then I have a problem with the next question, because for me being a black American, they assume that I come from the red line areas, that I live in the red line areas. So, and me being in California, like Compton, LA, Gardena, Linwood, Inglewood, Long Beach, those areas. And then some areas like Moreno Valley, Hammond, Paris, where you will see black people. So they assume that I come from those areas. So when I say where I live, they're not satisfied with that. So where did you live before? That's the next question. That's always the next question, and that's when I have a problem with that. Like, why are you not satisfied with where I say I live right now? It's not a red line area where I live right now. So that's why the next question is, where did you live before? And sometimes I tell them where I lived before, because where I lived before is still not a red line area. Well, where were you born? So it's like it's like it's frustrating, and I could turn it back on them, but I really don't care. I really don't care where they live. I really don't. Only time I ask people where they live, or where you from, is if I hear an accent that is not an American accent, because I get that all the time. So, and then I try to guess where they live by their accent. And most of the time I'm right. Sometimes I'm close. And so that's the only time I ask, when I say, where are you from? And they'll tell me. And sometimes I say, are you from, and they'll say yes, or they'll say no, but it'd be a country nearby. So that's the only time. But if you are American, I don't care where you're from. I don't care where you live. And why do you care where I live? Why do you care where I lived before? Why do you care where I grew up? Because that is another question. Where did you grow up? And then when I tell them where I grew up, then they're satisfied, because it's a red line area. It is what they expect as a Black American to live. But they never think about that this whole country was ours before they came over here, and before we were pushed into the red line areas, before identity was stolen. They never think about that. This whole country was ours. And the Mexicans. This whole country. But they don't think about that. And then I think to myself, why does it matter? Why does it matter? Where is your soul going is what matters. Not where you live right now. Where is your soul going? And I just feel like a lot of people focus so much on the physical. Money, status. We live here, we live there. I had a man that worked for the fire department. He was in my van. And the city I'm living in are building a lot of apartments. And he didn't like that. He said it's going to bring a lot of diversity to the city. He's telling me that as a Black woman. So basically what he's saying is going to bring a lot of Black people, a lot of Mexicans, and I don't know, mostly Blacks and Mexicans. That's what he's saying, basically. And he doesn't want that here. So yesterday I had an African man in my van, and his wife. And I think she was Asian. Yeah, I think she was Asian. But they were nice. They were cool. But boy, he grilled me more than any Caucasian person that I have ever had in my van. He loved the area. He was like, I didn't even know this was here. This is like London. I think he said London. I was like, oh, okay, because he was out. They had a wedding like out in the mountains. And so he was like, where do you live? I said, next door, the city next door. I said, they have an area like this, but I think it's nicer because it's a little more open. It's not so secluded with the mountains. He was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. He was like, how long have you lived here? I said, 13 years. How did you know about this area? Like, how did you know to move here? And I said, I had a friend that moved here, and that's how I knew about this area. Well, where did you live before? I told him where I lived before. Well, where did you live before that? I told him LA. What part of LA? I was like, oh my God. Hmm. So I see that there is, and him being an African man, he's not Caucasian. And I know that a lot of Africans, once they came here, have been brainwashed against Black Americans. We have been smeared to them. And so I felt like I was born in the US. You wasn't. So like, why wouldn't I know about this city and not you? But I felt like he was asking me these type of questions because he expect for me not to know about this area, but he should. So well, how do you know about this area and I don't? That's how I felt, because he had been brainwashed to think that Black Americans are dumb, ignorant. So I'm like, what is wrong with people? It doesn't matter where you live. What matters is when your soul, your spiritual body, comes out of your physical body. Where is that going? Where are you going to live then? When it really matters? For eternity. Where is your spiritual body going to live? Because this is just all temporary. Very temporary. Time exists in eternity. So, for all the people that think living in certain areas makes you better than Black people and Mexicans that live in red line areas, where are you going when that spiritual body come out of that physical body? That's what should matter. Those things don't matter to me. I want to live in a nicer area. I if I could, and I'm a person that I like all races. I like all races. I like to be around all races. I just don't want to be around all one race. I don't care what race it is, but I prefer diversity. I like it. I would love to be, friends with Asians, Caucasians, Black people, Africans, Islanders, and we all just be friends, get along good, don't bring up race, and we just see each other as, oh, this is just temporary. It's just temporary. It's the soul, it's the spiritual that matters. So when you are spiritually minded, it's so hard dealing with people that are carnally minded. It's so hard. It's like a burden. Suffer. I have to suffer through the ignorance. I have to suffer through it on a daily basis, especially when I'm working. I have to suffer through the ignorance of people's carnal mind. So I'm hoping people see this, Caucasian people, other races. As you can see, that was an African man that acted like that, and he was the worst. Like, we don't like anybody in our business like that. It's not like we're not even getting to know each other. Like, we're not even friends. I'm picking you up and dropping you off. There's no need for you to be all in my personal business. Oh, I did have a Caucasian woman one time, and she was just like, oh my God, drilling me. I'm like, this is it's torture. The whole trip, I'm tortured. because she's just all in my business, everything. How many siblings you got, all this stuff. And then she says, oh, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me, I don't care about, I can talk about my business. I don't care. Well, that's you. That's you. And I don't know, maybe that's you guys' culture to tell your business, to ask people questions. And ever since I have been here, from what I have gotten from people, when they ask a lot of questions like that of your personal business, it's a red flag. I'm burping. It's a red flag when people ask you your personal business. I don't think so for Uber, not so much, because they finna get out. But like I say, I think there's like I want to prove that you come from a red line area. That's basically, oh, yeah, that's what I thought she came from. A red line area. I knew she didn't grow up here in this city. So it's like this satisfaction of knowing, oh, okay, yeah, that's where I thought you came from. But then they don't go back. They don't keep going back to when they came over here and we had this whole land. This whole land was ours. Land stolen from our ancestors. Their land was literally stolen. They had to leave like in the middle of the night, walking on foot, leave from their houses. And then you push us to these areas and call them ghetto or hoods or whatever. Put liquor stores everywhere. Give them welfare. Don't want the father in the home. And music, ghetto, just horrible music to send the boys to prison. And then you take the nice areas that our ancestors used to live in. And they sell it for a little bit of nothing. And then you sit on your high horse years later, and then you question me about where do you live? Where do you grow up at? So you have that satisfaction of knowing that I grew up in a red line area. But you don't keep going back to when your ancestors stole land from my ancestors. And how you came to live in these nice areas. It's like, carnally minded people. Carnally minded. I think people would be much better off if they were spiritually minded. Much better off. Alright. I guess I'll talk to you guys another day. Good night.